music. Still get excited.
You just actually do a shimmy.
I did a little shimmy. Ready? Can you play the music again? Let's have a go.
It looks good on you. I can feel it next to me every time.
OK, I'll stop doing it.
Welcome back. And now all morning you've been getting in touch with your mortgage queries. So who better than mortgage mum Sarah Tucker to help? Right. Should we get straight to the first caller? Because I know the lines have been very busy for you. We've got Anne on the line. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning.
Good morning. What would you like to ask?
I've been thinking about equity release for some time, but I'm still very unsure about it because it's had a lot of negativity around it. So I'm just looking for some advice.
OK, and there is a lot of negativity around equity release, but hopefully I'm going to get rid of some of that today. So equity release is not for everybody, but it can be a really good solution for some. It's for over 55s, and it's if you really need some of the equity out of your property and you want to stay living in it. So lots of people are worried about leaving their property, not being in it, and an equity release can be a really good idea. So how does it work? It's similar to a mortgage. It's called a lifetime mortgage or later life lending. It's, as I say, it isn't right for everybody because there is interest in the background, and that's where it gets its bad reputation. Right. Because what happens is some people opt to release some of the money from their property on an equity release. They won't pay any monthly repayments, which of course sounds really lovely, doesn't it? But that interest will roll up and it will add on and it will add on, and that means that what you borrow at the beginning will be a lot higher later on, and that can obviously affect how much equity you can have left.
Right.
So it really needs really good advice. You need to make sure whoever you get that advice from is an equity release specialist, that they're part of the Equity Release Council. They will make sure you get the fairest advice, and that's the biggest piece of advice I have for that. But what I would say is look at your mortgage options first, because there are retirement interest-only mortgages that go up to much older ages than you'd think, and we would always say get a mortgage if you can, and if you can't, we'll look at equity release. Does that help, Anne?
Yes, absolutely.
OK, good.
Very good advice.
To hear. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We've got Laura from Newcastle.
Good morning.
Morning, Laura. Have you got a nice question?
Hi there, thank you. I'm a single mum and my mortgage is due for renewal to fixed-term mortgage. I'm kind of needing a little bit of advice on that. That would be awesome.
OK, so first things first, if your fixed rate's due to expire, you do need to look at it. Don't just leave it, because then you will go on to a variable rate, and a variable rate is much higher, likely to be much higher at the moment especially. So you've got to think about whether you want a fixed rate or a tracker rate is one of the big choices you have. Fixed rate's going to give you certainty, you know what you're paying each month. Tracker means if you do want to move, it's going to track the Bank of England base rate, which they're saying could come down again by the end of the year. We don't know, of course, but it gives you more flexibility to move in the future. You're not tied in, whereas with a fixed rate, you say, I want to fix this for 2 years or 5 years, and you will be tied in and you will have to pay a fee to leave. So really, you know, you say you've just become a single parent. I would say certainty is probably a really big thing for you at the moment. So a fixed rate's going to give you that. You know where you stand. Hopefully you're happy with what that looks like.
No surprises.
No surprises.
Yeah.
Right.
And at least for a period of time, you can get used to the new responsibilities that you have and get settled into that before you perhaps add a bit more uncertainty in the mortgage side.
Right.
Does that help, Laura? Is there anything else?
That's awesome. I really appreciate it. Obviously, it's a little bit of a minefield, so you can appreciate it, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
It's a lot of information. I think that's the hard thing. There's so many different options.
And it's never until we do these, you know, these phone-ins on the show. It's never simplified.
No.
It's a lot of words, a lot of rates, a lot of percentages, and you know.
Yeah.
For somebody that just didn't really pay attention in math, to hear it all, it's so overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. It's overwhelming for us, and we've studied to do what we do. But there is so much information out there. There's such a volume of mortgages and mortgage types and mortgage rates, and of course it is a minefield. So I hope I can simplify it for people.
It's all the small print, the bits that you kind of don't
translate
pay as much attention to that you probably should. That it's easy to break down for people.
Yeah.
Amanda is next. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. You've got another equity release question.
Yes, it's very similar to the first caller. I'm 53 and I've got 4 years left of my mortgage. and I've investigated into equity release, but I've been told that it's best to take out about 65, 70. And I just think life's too short. I've worked all my life for the house. Why not spend the equity?
And I get that completely. Why not? But equity release only kicks in when you're over 55, firstly. But also, Amanda, you do want to make sure that you're not paying over the amount that you need to for that money. So a mortgage would still be the best option potentially for you rather than equity release. So don't be mistaken into thinking it's the same thing. It's two separate things. Equity release and lifetime mortgages is one thing, and then you've got mortgage into retirement age. And you can release your equity for anyone out there any time as long as you can afford to and that there's equity in your property. Lots of people do it to do home renovations, to do debt consolidation and have a reset. Your equity is there and potentially available to you even if you're not over 55. But I think when people get to 53 years of age, like Amanda, they start to worry. They've got less time left on their mortgage. What options do you have? And you do have lots of them. So I absolutely hear you. And if the equity in your house is going to change your lifestyle and make you happier today, absolutely look at it. But make sure you get the right advice and you don't just jump into something.
Yeah.
I think that you summed it up perfectly. That's sort of the happiness element of it. What makes you more happy? I think it's really interesting that, you know, we were speaking to Siobhan right at the top of the show and she's sold all of her possessions and gone to live in a motorhome. It's completely the opposite side of the spectrum from what a mortgage is, essentially, which is tying you in for a long period of time.
Everyone ultimately just wants security, don't they? And what's the best way to achieve that?
Just really figuring out what makes you happy. And that's really, that's easier said than done. So again, to the other side of things, this is really interesting. This is from Liv. She said, I'm worried that I'll never get a mortgage. She's only 20 and I would love to move out, but I'm getting concerned I'm never going to be able to get a mortgage or buy a property. What's the best way to try and get on the property ladder for someone young who doesn't earn a lot?
Hard.
It's really hard. And this generation, it's harder than any other generation. You know, when I bought my first property, 100% mortgages were normal and you could even self-certify. So I get it, Liv, and actually we're really passionate about trying to educate first-time buyers that I know that you say you don't earn a lot. That won't always be the case. Putting away, getting used to putting money away of what you earn is a really good habit to get into from a young age. But there's a lot more help out there for people like Liv than you realise. There are things like a helping hand mortgage. Well, that will help you borrow up to 20% more than you could otherwise if you're a first-time buyer and you're struggling with affordability. There's mortgages out there that if you're renting, so many people come to me and say, well, I'm never going to be able to afford my own property. I'm renting. The amount I pay on rent is the same as a mortgage payment, but I can't afford to pay for a deposit as well as rent. And there's a track record mortgage, which is a mortgage for renters. You don't need a deposit. They want to just see you can pay your rent for 12 to 18 months. So for Liv, it's about looking at all the options and working with an advisor early. So at the age of 20, brilliant that you're thinking about it, even if you can't do anything about it for a while. Speak to people. You know, don't be afraid to speak to an advisor now and say, what do I need to do by the time I'm 25, 30? Work backwards.
Future planning.
It's very easy to think that our situation today is our situation forever, especially when you're 20, right? It is. But it's not always going to be that way. And if actually somebody says to Liv, you know what, you're not earning enough now, but if you earn another 20 grand in the next 10 years, you could buy a property worth this. That might really motivate her career decisions. Liv, reach out to an advisor. A good advisor is going to guide you through. We work with first-time buyers for years before we actually do a mortgage for them. And that's how it should be, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really didn't really know that.
I didn't know that.
I think that's really interesting for people to know that, you know, just reach out to a mortgage advisor and they'll be able to help you on the step. It's not like you're going to buy a house tomorrow.
No.
You're looking forward to the future.
So much just planning ahead to what you need to, you know, build in the right blocks to get the mortgage.
I think the mortgage industry's changed in that regard. It used to be, you know, a suit and you walk in and you spend 3 hours and if you didn't have to get a mortgage, you kind of probably didn't get an appointment. It's not like that now. There's so much advice online. There's so many people willing to help and educate the consumer.
And like you say, if you know where you need to be, that will motivate you in perhaps looking at a different job. Or if I work here and if I stay here for this long, I might get the promotion. Or
knowledge is power. That's the biggest thing.
We've only got a minute left, but we'll do this one for Liz. And Liz says, we took out an interest-only mortgage 25 years ago and we are now panicking. We can't afford to pay for financial advice. Is there anything we can do?
Yes, Liz, there is. Please don't panic. That's my biggest message to Liz. It's so easy to panic when you see 25 years is going, you're panicking, you don't know if you can afford a mortgage. As I spoke about earlier, there are options. Speak to an advisor, know that there are options out there. We got a mortgage for somebody last week that was 74 years old.
There you go. Okay, so don't panic.
So don't panic.
There we go.
Don't panic. Good advice.
Thank you so much.
Honestly.
That was so brilliant.
I'm learning a lot.
I'm so pleased. Well, that's the idea, isn't it? We've got to educate people and hopefully empower them to make the right decision for them.
And just, speak to someone if you don't know what's going. It's always good. You can just ask for advice and hopefully, sort of
And
help
I think
you in
what
the
you
future.
said is really interesting, actually, that, being 20, worrying that you'll never get a mortgage is actually that kind of those building blocks to the preparation.
The preparation is
it's
key.
not just you're not going to get a mortgage now, but you can. I didn't know that you could sit down with someone and talk about the future, like when you're ready for that.
Well, also there's that sort of narrative now that's like when you're young that you're like, I can never afford a house. I'm young. This generation can't ever afford a house, which I think is definitely true.
Yeah.
But it's much more expensive.
Not being
for them.
stuck in that mindset.
But you can get help essentially. So that's a good.
Well, we're taught instant gratification, aren't we? If we want to watch something, we just stick it on. If we want to find something, we Google it. Sometimes the long-term plan is still very valid in today's world, and it's about educating them
not
that they
overlooking
can.
it. Thank you
so much.
I know. I feel like
This
I've
is
been to
great.
Can you just this is what my kids should be learning in school.
Yes,
Yes.
I know.
This is what should be happening.
I am very passionate about that.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
My
I'm
kids
trying.
Yeah,
talk
I
to
love
you
that.
about mortgages, talk to Nancy about stains. Like, having a great time.
Exactly. We put
Wonderful.
together our own curriculum.
There you go.
This morning. Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much. Still to come, it's the outfit